Today I just wanted to take a few minutes of your time to talk about the very serious matter of genocide prevention, indeed ethnic cleansing prevention, regarding Artsakh. 247 years ago, the US declared its independence from the British Empire's tyranny, and since then it stood as a beacon of hope for people around the world seeking democracy and freedom. I will recall the period just before the Rwanda genocide, when France could have done more but did not do, and it has this on its conscience. I know that the West is interested in its geopolitical issues here, but there is a way of saving the situation from a humanitarian perspective, but also strengthening US and the West interests here, because I'm absolutely certain that if the US and its partners does the right thing here, the last vestiges of Russian influence will be gone from this region. The key, though, is to do something now. In 1920, Armenia was a sovereign nation. It was recognized by all the great powers, including the United States. Azerbaijan, Democratic Republic as it was called, self-declared at that time, was never recognized by any state, nor even the League of Nations. And this is a critical point, because only sovereign nations can claim territorial integrity. Certainly not a self-declared entity such as Azerbaijan was at the time. At the same time, the Kremlin and the Turks through Atatürk and the Ottoman Empire were plotting the divide of Armenia, and if the Congress at the time had agreed with Woodrow Wilson's arbitral award, Armenians would have been protected and would have been part of the West, not part of the Soviet oppression for 70 years. I'm appealing to you now. The US has let the Armenian people down before. It took more than 100 years to recognize the genocide. As I said, it could have done more to protect the Armenian people from the invasion of the Soviets in 1920. Could you imagine a sovereign nation being invaded by an unrecognized Soviet Union at that time, and giving away lands to a third party, what would become Turkey? Can you imagine that happening today? And the outcry, but it happened in reality in 1920. I'm asking you to take decisive action and be on the right side of history now. Understanding that until the fall of the Soviet Union on 26 December 1991, Azerbaijan was never a sovereign country. Of course, the Azerbaijan Soviet Socialist Republic was just a province of the Soviet Union, right? And in fact, any changes made by Stalin and others and enclaves have no meaning for sovereignty. At the time of the fall of the Soviet Union in 1991, in fact, there were two legal entities that emerged under Soviet law, because the former Nagorno Karabakh Autonomous Oblast went through the same law of secession under Soviet law, and the articles under the Soviet Convention, the Constitution, but unfortunately only one entity was recognized. Now, the fact that the Nagorno Karabakh Autonomous Oblast fell within the borders of the Azerbaijan entity, it makes no difference. Lesotho falls within South Africa, for example. So both entities had the right to declare their independence, and only one was recognized. Now, I don't know why. I believe it's laziness from the West to just simply recognize the former boundaries of the Soviet republics as countries. But we know from the fall of other federal nations like Yugoslavia that the boundaries are not the same today. Dare I mention Kosovo, although that's a bad example because that's an example of separatism. As I mentioned, the Nagorno Karabakh Autonomous Oblast or now Artsakh, has never been part of a sovereign Azerbaijan, able to claim territorial integrity. That point in time only took place in 1991, and so it's not correct to call Artsakh breakaway or the people there separatists. These people have more right than Kosovo. They need remedial, yes, for all the pogroms and so on, the horrors that they've faced, but they don't need secession. That's the point. So here's your off-ramp. You can recognize Artsakh and have absolutely no effect on Azerbaijan's territorial integrity, or you recognize its territorial integrity as being a certain border now. Well, so the US also recognized Indonesia as including Timor-Leste, didn't it? Until Timor-Leste's independence. Same for South Sudan, right? So depending upon your political will, it determines the actual boundaries. These change, as we know, including for the United States in 1776. So I'm appealing to you to understand that how the US protects Taiwan as a democracy, because it's got interests in Taiwan, it should not treat Artsakh any different. There is a principle that the United States has set in the sand to make sure that the tyrannical dictators of this world, if they step over that line, they know that there are consequences. Where is that line from the United States? Trying to force the people of Artsakh within a genocidal state, programmed, everybody there programmed to hate Armenians, racial hatred taught from childhood. That would be like asking the Jews to become part of Nazi Germany. You can have your self-interest, as Israel can put its airfields in Fuzuli and Jabril. It will not affect if the United States recognizes Artsakh as the former NKAO boundaries. I have a peace plan that involves a special corridor through Mehri, but not like how the Armenians think. It involves bridging with a tripartite agreement with Iran to ensure unimpeded access across that bridging, to allow a sovereign corridor through that area to take the pressure off, because that area there is always going to be a point of contention, to allow access, unimpeded access for the Turks. That's their dream. But if bridging is of unimpeded access guaranteed by Iran, perhaps the United States is there, then there's no disconnection with Iran, right? And Iran's problems go away, Armenia's problems go away, and for that precious land can be a connection to liberated and independent Artsakh. You solve both problems at the same time. No, the two countries don't have the ability to merge together, or the people to move in a free way, because unfortunately, as I said, there is racial hatred and there's always the potential for problems to occur. But there's no reason why transport links can't be created under this plan. If the United States and its partners do the right thing to protect these people, these indigenous people of Artsakh, put in international peacekeepers, and defeat what you see as a great evil coming from the Kremlin, where it treats the Armenian people as pawns. Please do not let the Armenian people down.